Is there any way to fortify the business against the moving targets on this front? We have tariffs one day, then we don't. There's very little stability right now. So, are there ways to mostly avoid the fray when it comes to constant economic chaos?
Well, I have no confidence that I can predict what is going to happen in terms of the landscape of regulations, of tariffs, of economic actions, and so forth. And I'd love to meet somebody who thinks that they do have some confidence that they can predict that. And as you suggested, we've been living through this sort of topsy-turvy world where every day we're confronted with a new announcement, a new rumor, a new murmur of a announcement about something that's going to change, only to discover that's completely undone by the following day. So
Hmm.
I suspect that that's going to continue for a while. I'm not super optimistic that we'll have this predictability. And a number of commentators, including people from the right, have suggested to the current administration that predictability is what businesses are looking for because
Hmm.
significant investments that people might make in factories and plants and equipment and so forth are made with the presumption of there will be a market that we can serve if we do the things that we'd like to do. So I think the predictability issue is a real one, and I'm hoping it gets resolved, but I'm not confident that it will be. So then we've got to think about, well, what's this world which may be unpredictable, and how do we prepare for the things which are unpredictable? So, in my life prior to teaching, where as a management consultant and as a chief marketing officer, one of the things that I suggested to my clients at that time was really to think about a playbook about what kinds of things could happen and how do we think about the actions that we would take once those
Hmm.
things happen. And to build out a sense of what are the different scenarios that could potentially take place. And under those different scenarios, how would we act? And then be prepared to be very nimble in pulling the trigger on following one set of actions versus another set of actions. So we've got to be super good at really reading the tea leaves, following what's happening, be prepared to zig and zag, and also being able to move the organization at light speed once those things happen. So, tariffs is a good example. I suspect that, before Trump came into office back in 2016, most of us did not spend a lot of time thinking about tariffs. It was sort of a thing for some of
Right.
our trading partners, but this was not like a big part of how we thought about the world. And certainly, if you were classical Republican and free trade, it was all about lowering the barriers to trade between different countries.
Right.
So, at a minimum, if you're a senior leader in a branded organization, first, you better understand tariffs. You better understand the consequence of tariffs. You better have gone through an analysis of how they may affect your business and then how that might affect the potential investments that you might make, and then being able to build some flexibility or scalability into that. Now, the good news is in some businesses, we can be a lot more scalable now than we might have been able 20 years ago. So I think about technology
Hmm.
businesses. And one of the great things about technology is we've moved so much of the world into the cloud that we can scale up and we can scale down much
Hmm.
more easily than where in the past we might have had to build these big computer centers, we might have had to get all these servers and so forth. So looking at ways to make your business scalable, and that may be through partnerships, it may be through new technology and so forth, I think will be an important strategy for lots of organizations. And we wrote a book, myself, along with a couple of former colleagues from Deloitte, where I once worked, and another colleague who's now currently at the University of Georgia, which was called the Transformation Myth. Transformation Myth was all about looking at this world through this lens of disruption, which was particularly prompted by COVID-19.
Hmm.
And one of the characteristics of organizations that tended to do well in the midst of COVID-19 were companies that figured out how to scale up and scale down rapidly. And there, for some companies, it meant scaling up rapidly. For other companies at the same time with COVID-19, it meant scaling down rapidly. thinking about how to make yourself more scalable, to me, is a key strategy in a world which is ruled by uncertainty and disruption.